What's he up to? He's been sniping a bit, hasn't he?
Well, good afternoon. And I think what Michael was setting out ahead of the Conservative Party conference was a view that was clearly held by a number of backbench MPs and his colleagues, and it was something that made the Prime Minister and the Chancellor take a different approach when it came to the 45p reduction to 40p in the top rate of income tax for the highest earners. It is no crime to want to cut taxes, which is what Kwasi and the Prime Minister Liz Truss wants to do. Every Conservative wants to cut taxes, including Michael, I would have thought. But the debate was only about when the time was right to do so. And as I say, it's no crime to cut tax. You can't fault the Prime Minister and the Chancellor for wanting to take that approach. But I think what Michael was pointing out, that perhaps the time may not be right at the moment. And the Prime Minister and the Chancellor have listened and made a change of turn.
Has the debate, however, moved on to the whole issue of inflation and therefore what that does to benefits and whether you link benefits to that? Penny Mordaunt, of course, has gone public with that. She didn't look too impressed in that cutaway with the audience. We couldn't see Michael Gove there. I mean, what's he likely to do? Team up with Penny Mordaunt and start plotting from the sidelines?
Well, I think Michael has been a cabinet minister for many, many years, and he knows just how difficult it will be when you have tough decisions to take. And as part of a cabinet collective responsibility, everybody has to be disciplined in terms of the messaging. And what we've seen, perhaps during this conference, is a debate take place in the public eye, which we'd rather see behind closed doors, but that debate will take place behind closed doors. No decision has been made. The Cabinet will come together, and Penny is a brilliant Cabinet Minister. She was a brilliant Defence Secretary, and she was a fantastic Minister when I worked with her in the Cabinet Office. And the whole Cabinet will debate the issue of benefits and whether it should be increased in terms of inflation or wages. That will take place behind closed doors, and then it will be the Chancellor and the Prime Minister who makes that announcement when the time is right, in due course, once a decision has been taken.
Why do you think it will take place behind closed doors? There's absolutely zero evidence of that this week. It's all been taking place on the airwaves, in fringe meetings.
Well, conferences are full of fringe events, and there are many events to speak at, and people will speak maybe slightly more freely because there'll be a number of issues that come up that you might not expect. But as a government, they will need to take a decision on this issue. And yes, we've heard in the margins cabinet ministers making their own views clear as to what should happen. But when the decision is actually taken, that needs to be debated before, and that will take place back in London around the cabinet table.
The Downing Street Prime Minister's press secretary says Tory whips will seek to restore order over critical government ministers. Collective responsibility is the same as it always has been. How big a job have those whips got when Parliament gets back to Westminster? And indeed, what do they do with Penny Mordaunt?
Well, you're absolutely right. It is a big task. Because the government has been in office for 12 years. It is a new Prime Minister. It is a new team. It is a new cabinet, and it's come into office after what has been a turbulent few days ahead of this conference. We are behind in the polls, and that's not a place that any Conservative supporter wants to be in. But you have to recognise that, and therefore there will be anxiety, and with that comes people who maybe a bit quick to say what they think without sort of understanding sort of how a team should play together in order to win and be as successful as it possibly can be. So the whips have a huge task on their hands, to be fair, and they will have to come together, but they have to ensure that the whole Conservative Party comes together, and members of Parliament have to recognise that the only way which the Conservative Party is going to win the next general election, the only way they're going to win the next general election is if they come together and get behind the Prime Minister, but have all of the debates, all of the policy disputes that may have been played out in the public eye this week. We have to ensure that those debates take place in the right way, in the House of Commons, behind closed doors, and that is the only way that you can reach a conclusion properly. But then whatever the decision is, you need to get behind the outcome, and it is only parties that are united that win general elections. It is divided parties that lose them.